Imagine you're a child between the age of 8th and 11th grade. You live in one of the poorest countries of the world, in one of the poorest areas of that country, Zimbabwe. Your parents, if you're lucky enough to have two parents, only earn maybe $1,000 a year from their small 5-hectare, 12.5-acre subsistence farm. There is no free education in Zimbabwe, even though the schools are run by the government. Your parents must spend 105 of those hard-earned dollars each year to send you to the Nyamashato Secondary School. They also must pay for 2 required uniforms to wear to school, and your school supplies. Most families don't just have one child, so each child requires the same expenditure to go to school. Nyamashato Secondary School is located in the bush of Zimbabwe, 90 miles northeast of Harare, the capital. The school has 569 students, of which 119 are orphans, under the care of the Heather Chimoga Orphan Care Center. The HCOC, as it's known locally, is located about half a kilometer down the road from the school. It was founded and is still supported by the Renewed Hope Charitable Foundation Incorporated of Castle Rock, Colorado. A small group of students at the Castleview High School in Castle Rock, Colorado, found out about the Nyamashato Secondary School. They discovered that they were having to learn science by just watching the teacher perform science demonstrations. They decided they did not want to learn science that way, so they are determined to raise money to furnish, equip, and install solar power in the science building. Why is it important to these students at Castleview High School to help the Nyamashato students? They want the Nyamashato students to have the same opportunity to study science and advanced education that they do. They feel it is important that all students have the opportunity to pursue their dreams and help their country. Here are some of the students that have worked on this project so far, along with their mentors. This is a science lab building with 2 classrooms that will hold 50 students each. It was built in 1999 by Renewed Hope. They built the building but did not have enough money to furnish it. In addition to the classrooms, the building has an office for the science teachers, a storage room for science supplies and equipment, which is currently virtually bare. Since Renewed Hope built this science building, the Castleview students asked if they would partner with them in collecting, distributing, and monitoring the money for their science project. You will notice this science classroom does not have any lab tables, science equipment, or electricity. The only light comes in from the windows on either side. During the rainy season, the classroom is very dark. Even though electricity is run to the school office, it is unreliable. It is only up for about 2 to 3 hours a day in the middle of the night. The only reliable source of electricity is by solar power. Many of the students live in roundovels, which are primitive huts without electricity or plumbing. This is a common sight near the secondary school. Farmers use a team of oxen if they can afford them for hauling and plowing. Women and girls still haul loads such as water from the community well on their heads. They get so good they can balance them on their heads without holding them with their hands. Babies and small children are carried in a sling made of a shawl on their mother's back while the mother carries a load on her head. Teachers and their families live on the school grounds. Many times the houses are shared by multiple teachers. The teacher houses are usually in poor condition and all the cooking is done outside over an open fire. The school has a highly qualified science teacher, Morris Magui, that has co-written 4 science textbooks that are used all over Zimbabwe. Even though he is the co-author of the textbooks, he only has 2 copies of each one that must be shared with the 50 students in the class. After returning to Zimbabwe in 2012 from South Africa, where he got his education and teaching experience, Morris was assigned to this school. When he got there, all he found in the science building was broken down furniture and a few outdated chemicals. He is dedicated to helping his students learn science and have the opportunity to go on and study science at the advanced level. In 2014, Morris applied to UNICEF for help supplying the science classrooms. The school received a very limited quantity of science equipment and supplies. Pictured here are the supplies they received. These supplies are only enough to allow Morris to demonstrate some simple science experiments to the classes, but not sufficient to allow the students to perform hands-on experiments. Morris is shown here preparing his supplies to perform a science experiment for the class. He must ration his meager supply of chemicals in order to get the most out of them. There is no money in the school budget to resupply what he has used. In the past, because of the lack of equipment and supplies for hands-on learning, none of the Nyamashato students could pass the science portion of the standardized test they take in the 11th grade. This means that they cannot study science if they are lucky enough to go on to advanced education. You see Morris performing a simple science experiment for the class. Notice how attentive the students are. Even with the limited supplies and only being able to watch as the experiments are being performed, the students are excited about learning science. These 3 students participated in a science fair and are proudly showing their projects and certificate of participation. The boy in the middle built a simple motor. The boy on the right built a model of a greenhouse. In 2015, Morris decided to take a small group of his students to mentor in science. He wanted to prove with the proper supplies and equipment they could pass the standardized test in science. All of the students he mentored passed this test. Meet Standard Guchero. He is one of the students that Morris mentored. He is the first Nyamashato student to be accepted to study math, physics, and chemistry at the advanced level if funding can be secured. Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world." These Nyamashato students who live in an extremely poor rural area of one of the poorest countries in the world represent the future of Zimbabwe. Will they be ready? Not in the area of science if we don't help them. With a proper education in science, one of these children could make the next major scientific breakthrough. The Castleview students decided if they didn't help them, who would? They need your help to fund this project. No donation is too small. You'll notice that $3 will buy a 100 milliliter beaker. $12 buys a 500 milliliter beaker or 10 test tubes. $15 buys a textbook. When $50 is accumulated, a digital balance or scale can be purchased. At the $80 level, a fire blanket or a fire extinguisher can be purchased. Currently, neither of the classrooms has a fire blanket or a fire extinguisher or any kind of safety equipment. Once $200 is accumulated, a lab table or a microscope can be purchased. If you would like to help, send your check donation to Renewed Hope Charitable Foundation Incorporated, Post Office Box 1476, Castle Rock, Colorado 80104-1476. On the memo line of your check, please write NSS Science Project. Thank you in advance for your help.